Alright, play some Augusta, new beta, see how far I get before I start playing like shit or have to go back to work, or pretend like I have to go back to work because I'm playing like shit.
I do want to start with you, Andrew, since this is your reporting. You guys were right. The attempt to get to McCaskill's office was a variant of the password stealing technique used by Russia's so-called fancy bear hackers against Clinton's campaign chairman John
all the time. Do the hard ones.
Tell us what they did.
See where they're at.
That's right, Katie. What they did was they essentially tried to replicate what they did to John Podesta in 2016. Podesta is, of course, or he was Hillary Clinton's campaign chairman in 2016. But what they did was they targeted Senator McCaskill's office such that it sent these links that looked like an authentic email from Microsoft saying you needed to change your password. And then it brought them to a page that looked exactly like the Microsoft portal where you go in and change your password. And if the individual followed that prompt and ended up typing in their password and everything, that gave those Russian hackers basically a way to infiltrate that computer system. As we first reported, there was no evidence to believe that this was successful, and Senator McCaskill's office later confirmed that portion. But again, this is the first concrete evidence that we have that we were able to reveal here of Russian interference in the 2018 midterms.
And what tipped you off to this?
So a couple weeks ago, or I guess it was last week at the Aspen Security Forum, a top Microsoft executive was talking about a few candidates that Microsoft had picked up in terms of candidates that are standing for election this year that were targeted in these sort of what are called phishing operations. So we went to work to try to find out who exactly it was, and Microsoft had identified that this was what's called the Fancy Bear operation within the Russian GRU, which is their main intelligence directorate, and we were able to identify that it was Senator McCaskill's office.
Got it. Ken, is there any indication that this is going to come out today at this national security meeting? And can you give us an update on where the federal government stands in its ability to thwart this sort of meddling again in 2018?
Sure, Katie. I just wrote a piece on it, which is posted on NBCnews.com. This attempt
Not feeling the little white picket fence with neighbors right there.
Example of the notion that Russia has not been deterred in the least. And what experts and lawmakers say about that is the reason they haven't been deterred is there has been no presidential leadership in the 2 years since our government was attacked, or our democracy was attacked by Russia. After 9/11, the U.S. government reorganized itself to prevent such an attack from ever happening again. There has been no such movement in the wake of an attack that some lawmakers, including John McCain, said was an act of war.
Oh no! Right off the get-go, huh?
States. The FBI has a foreign influence task force. The National Security Agency
that's all right.
scanning cyberspace. But absent
Tough hole for me to reach into anyway up this hill.
The kind of approach that you need. For example, tackling the meddling on social media by Russian bots and trolls is a really hard problem for the government. No one agency can do it. It involves the social media companies.
Yes, it is. It's from. Let me find out who it's from. He said I could share it. It's from.
Close to solving that problem.
Two things. The July 27th.
It's from Skunky.
At the very top of this, Russia, if you're listening, we know from the Mueller indictment that was the very first time that the conspirators named, according to Mueller, tried to hack into Hillary Clinton's server. It is also interesting to note that this McCaskill hack happened around the same time that Donald Trump was in Springfield, Missouri, campaigning on behalf of McCaskill's opponent. Listen to what he said.
It's really ominous to consider that the same Russian actors may have been involved in trying to hack a vulnerable Democratic senator's campaign right around the same time that President Trump called for her ouster from the Senate. But what is also distressing to me as the ranking member of the Intelligence Committee is to learn.
Our savvy viewers might notice that is Adam Schiff and not Donald Trump. Here is what Donald Trump said. I don't know if we have the soundbite, so I will just read it. We must lower our taxes, and your Senator Claire McCaskill, she must do this for you, and if she doesn't do it for you, put her out of office. So the attack on McCaskill happened at the same time that Donald Trump said that in Missouri. David, do you believe in coincidences? Could that just be a coincidence?
Yeah, it is not hard to
So far, not well. Seatbelt right here.
We need the president to clearly express this as a priority, to separate his personal interest from the nation's interest here. And then what we need, as far as I'm concerned, is an investigative-based approach with central organization and a lot of activity out in the field. Widen the number of forums.
Little bit more.
Cases, whether it's in a trade discussion with the State Department, Commerce, Treasury. We need to put consequence into the equation for the Russians.
Ken, this apparently didn't work, this attack on the Capitol. Nobody clicked on the link. What's the feeling about that? Is that just lucky that nobody clicked on the link, that they weren't duped by it? Do they feel like they're in a good position to make sure that nobody else will click on something like this?
No, absolutely not, Katie. Look, you can't defend against spear phishing. Someone is always going to click on a bad link. And Dan Coates, the Director of National Intelligence, gave a remarkable speech before the Helsinki Summit where he basically said, look, the system is clicking red. We're not seeing the kind of, cyber intrusions massively against election systems that we saw in 2016. But he said, we're really just a keystroke away from that. It's very easy for the Russians to do that. It's very hard to defend against it. That's why you need a geopolitical strategy. And let me just make sure our viewers understand what David just said. The Trump administration has eliminated the role of cybersecurity coordinator. His name was Rob Joyce from the National Security Council. And they also fired Tom Bossert, who is his superior, who's the Homeland Security Advisor. There is nobody minding the story at the Trump administration to tell us who is in charge of preventing foreign election interference. Perhaps after this meeting, the White House will tell us.
We will see. Ken Delanian, thanks for pointing that out. Andrew Desiderio and David Hickton, we appreciate it.
Thank you.
And in a move that surprised even his own Director of National Intelligence, the Trump White House announced last week that Donald Trump had invited Vladimir Putin to Washington. Despite the questions that remained about what happened in Helsinki when the two leaders met one-on-one, despite the criticism
That's what they mean by hard.
about that summit from members of his own party. But by the middle of that week, the White House abruptly rescinded the invitation. National Security Advisor John Bolton issued a statement saying the follow-up would not take place until, as he said, the Russia witch hunt is over. Has an alternate plan in mind. He announced today that calls between Washington and Moscow just are not enough. He invited Donald Trump to him. And it appears the White House may RSVP.
His problem.
Sarah J. Sanders issued a statement saying Trump is open to visiting Moscow. I'm joined now by NBC News Chief Foreign Correspondent Richard Engel and Mika Oyak, former House Intel Committee staffer and Vice President of the National Security Program at Third Way. Richard, last night I heard from Vladimir Putin that he said his schedule was too full to come to Washington. What explains this new conversation and potentially this new trip?
Well, I think this should be surprising to absolutely no one. Vladimir Putin got a lot out of that Helsinki summit. He looked like a hero back home. He looked like the dominant force. President Trump got into all sorts of domestic problems back home, which is only good for Russia because the more the U.S. is tangled up in knots, the more Russia feels that it has a free hand in the world. So that he thought he was going to follow that up with a potential visit to the United States, which would be a crowning moment for Putin to have his president invite him to Washington. When that invitation got complicated, he came out and said, why don't you come to Moscow? And if you can imagine the optics of what that visit would be like, having President Trump walking the honor guard, receiving some sort of ceremonial present from Vladimir Putin, and then all of the backlash that would follow in the United States, it would be a very, very appealing prospect for Russia and for Putin.
Well, Richard, this does if he goes to visit Moscow. This wouldn't be a first.
It certainly wouldn't be a first, but you can't look at what's happening in the world and view it in isolation. There have been many presidents who've met with Russian leaders. There's nothing wrong with that, but you have a president who is consistently accused of cozying up to Vladimir Putin, allowing Russia to have a pass when it comes to election hacking. So it is not like other summits. Of course, presidents need to talk. Presidents need to talk with their allies and their adversaries. But the optics of a visit like this would give to Russia would be something that I think Russia would absolutely enjoy. Not saying the visit shouldn't happen. It's
Get a bounce up there.
Likes it. As we just saw from Sarah Huckabee Sanders' statement.
Stay.
Intelligence community
Stay.
Concerned about it. It's really troubling because these are meetings that are entirely about optics. It's not clear what the substantive agenda is. Not only the meeting that Putin is inviting Trump to, but what actually happened in the meeting in Helsinki. We had the Secretary of State refusing to tell United States senators about what had happened in that one-on-one conversation. Presidents don't just get together at the head of state level to have a chat. They usually have a very substantive agenda and are trying to address issues that are in America's national security concern. But in this case, there is no substance. It is just about the optics. Mika, yesterday, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, 2 days ago now, testified in front of Congress, and he didn't give a lot of answers as to what happened in that
That's
meeting.
not going to work.
He didn't give a lot of answers as to what's going on with North Korea. What's going on with the communication between this administration and the intel community, but also between lawmakers? Is there usually this much of a wall between?
No, it's not at all normal that this would happen. Normally, the intelligence community would have someone in the room with the president. As the president's talking to a head of state, they would know what was going on. There would be a very clear agenda going in. There would be a very robust debriefing coming out. Then there would be direction to the rest of the government based on what the two leaders had decided. None of that is happening. So whatever this president has agreed upon with Vladimir Putin, they act upon it because no one in the government knows what it is. And the United States Congress has an absolute right to oversee the policy decisions that are made by the executive branch. And for them to be kept in the dark in this is keeping the American people in the dark, and it's just not right.
Richard, Russia is still meddling. We just had a report in the last segment about Claire McCaskill being targeted. The president has blocked hold on whether he thinks Russia meddled and whether he thinks they're going to still be meddling. He keeps going back and forth on this. You've been to Russia a lot, and a lot of reporting out there. Can you give me some insight into how they're feeling about what happened in 2016 and what that could mean going forward?
The Russians are feeling very confident right now, and they've been accused of meddling not just in the U.S. election, but in several European countries, in countries closer to their own borders. They're feeling that this is a strategy that has been working for them, and they haven't really paid any price for it, so why not continue it? Russia also right now seems very much to be focused on the long game, and if you look at Russian history, they had the czars, they had 70 years of totalitarian communism, then the collapse of the Soviet Union, 10 years flirting with democracy and gangsterism, and now for the last nearly 20 years, Vladimir Putin and the intelligence agencies have been in power. They have one goal in mind, which is to recover from the collapse of the Soviet Union. They believe that President Trump can help them do that. They believe that election hacking and manipulation is a tool that can help them achieve that. And right now they're feeling very strong.
Richard, one other question that this just popped into my head. I'm thinking about the indictment that Mueller released a couple weeks ago right now, and the 12 Russian intelligence officers that they are saying were behind the 2016 election attack. Is there any separation, or what is the separation between intelligence officers in Russia and Vladimir Putin?
Well, Vladimir Putin ran the intelligence services. When he took
No.
the intelligence services came with him, and many people describe
What am I doing here?
as being run by Putin and the intelligence services. So the fact that the GRU, the military intelligence unit, named officers, named locations, several named locations in the indictment, were responsible for the actual hacking, the actual penetration of the DNC servers. That shows according to the indictment that this was a state-run operation, that this wasn't the act of some lone computer geeks who were penetrating electoral systems for fun, that this was national strategy in order to have a result. And the fact that even Russia, they deny it, but they've been denying it with a bit of a wink and a nod. They said they were never involved, but they kind of like the world to know that they did it, because that gives them power, that gives them prestige, that gives them a sense that they have returned again and vindicated themselves after the horrific collapse of the Soviet Union.
Which makes it so weird to hear the president say Vladimir Putin denied it very strongly. Richard Engel, thank you very much. Always good to see you. Mika Oye, good to see you as well. And next
Okay, first one was perfect.
Get them sweet, spicy, and smoked. Golden Corral, your choice rules.
You are amazing. You're a thunder therapist, and you choose Rachel Ray Nutrish, offering recipes with real meat as the #1 ingredient and options with 0 grains. That's amazing. Nutrish, real recipes, real ingredients, real good.
Roman is a new men's health brand helping treat erectile dysfunction.
I'm asking for
At GetRoman.com, a U.S. licensed physician will see if ED meds are right for you. And if they are, Roman will ship name brand meds discreetly to your door.
Hey, stop.
I mean, I don't know.
Oh, it's 3 times.
Talking about ED doesn't have to be hard.
It'd be hard for him.
Well, for me. Roman, ED meds prescribed them?
Oh, I don't know what the hell I'm doing.
Alright, Travago. Find me a hotel where I can wake up with a view of the ocean. Awesome. Thanks, Travago.
Hey, renovators, time to dream bigger. Start your renovation at Wayfair.com.
There's a lot to love about Medicare. There's also a lot to know. The most important thing, Medicare doesn't pay for everything.
Yep, you're on the hook for the rest.
So consider an AARP Medicare Supplement Insurance Plan. Insured
Come on, Wynn, help me
Medicare
out.
Insurance Company. A plan like this helps pay some of what Medicare
thanks.
doesn't, so you could end up paying less. And these are the only plans of their kind endorsed by AARP.
Still rolling.
Selected
Why?
for meeting their high standards of quality and service. Call United Healthcare Insurance Company now to request this free decision guide and learn more. Like, Medicare supplement plans give you the freedom to go with any doctor who accepts Medicare patients.
It's nice to have a choice.
And your coverage goes with you anywhere you travel in the country.
53,
They love our long visits.
77,
Call
77.
United Healthcare and ask for your free decision guide today.
I've been making blades here at Gillette for 20 years. There's a lot of innovation that goes into making America's #1 shave. Precision machinery and high-quality materials from around the world. Nobody else even comes close. Now starting at $7.99. Gillette, the best a man can get.
Get my ass kicked.
After a rather trying week, President Trump had some good news to share today. The GDP grew an impressive 4.1% in the second quarter of 2018, and the president wasted time taking credit for it.
Since I was elected, we've created approximately $7 trillion of new wealth. The year before I came into office, private business investment grew at only 1.8%. Last year it jumped to 6.3%, and this year it's growing at 9.4%. So that's a very tremendous increase. There hasn't been an increase like that in many, many years, decades.
Bit of hyperbole there, but to the president's credit, the economy is doing well. And according to a hypothetical op-ed from the New York Times' Brett Stevens, with a vote for
diggity. Hard pins.
in 2020, the president's re-election will be simple. It's the economy. Stupid. Brett Stevens, opinion columnist for the New York Times and an MSNBC contributor, joins me now. Brett, I thought your column was completely fascinating because it seemed completely plausible.
Yeah, it was one of those columns that was very easy to write because you can map the president's re-election strategy or the reasons why he might very well get re-elected easily.
Wow.
In terms of
So in this column, and again for our viewers, this is you predicting the future, making it up. It's not real, but you predicted an Elizabeth Warren Sherrod Brown ticket that focuses more on morality and the morality of this president and the outrages that he has perpetrated, and less on the economy. You say in exit poll interviews, and again this is fictitious, Mr. Trump supporters frequently cited the state of the economy to explain their vote. What part of Dow 30 do the Liberals not understand? Kevin O'Reilly of Manchester, New Hampshire, told the Times. Again, that's a fake quote, but sounds plausible.
Listen, you know, I don't know if you, or how many of our viewers remember the 1996 election, but Bob Dole was going around saying, where is the outrage in America? Where is the outrage? Well, you have this robust economy, and Americans feeling pretty good.
And this was the president at the time, Bill Clinton, who was facing some serious morality.
All kinds of issues.
That's what we're seeing today. We should
I mean, that's a whole different sport, you might say. It was felt that way at the time. So I think Donald Trump may be doing what I think doing his greatest disservice, which is he may be making Democrats lose their marbles. If Democrats are going to win, they need message focus, they need an optimistic strategy for the American people, and they need to show that they're not just interested in humiliating Trump, they're interested in making things better for Americans.
Why would a Democrat listen to Brett Stevens, conservative columnist?
Well, I know how conservatives think, and I've seen many of these elections before. Look, one of the reasons I'm at the New York Times is I'm never Trumper. I want to see Donald Trump. I do not want to see
the journal, we should say.
I do not want to see Donald Trump re-elected. I want to make America sane again. I want a president that I can respect. And I'm offering genuinely friendly advice. Please, Democrat, who's done that? Get some message focus and get a serious person who's going to talk to middle class aspirations.
Don't impeach.
Don't impeach.
Brett Stevens, New York Times columnist. Brett, thank you for coming in and read that article. It's it's really interesting. Brett, thank you, and we will be right back.
It's time now.
Sucked it in uphill. I like it.
What does car manufacturing and hair care have in common? Just ask.
Seems to be a problem with this whole directional capabilities.
And so she looked to the auto industry for inspiration. Find out what she learned on your business.
They help a lot longer than 172. Also,
Sponsored by the powerful backing of American Express. Don't do business without it.
The line between work and life hasn't just blurred. It's gone. That's why you need someone behind you. Not just a card, an entire support system. Whether visiting the airport lounge to catch up on what's really important, or even using those hard-earned points to squeeze in a little family time. No one has your back like American Express. So no matter where you're going, they're with you. The powerful backing of American Express. Don't do business without it.
cut it. Damn it, why'd you cut it? Why? Why'd you do that? Why?
From the very beginning, it was always our singular focus, a distinct determination to do whatever it takes, use every possible resource to fight cancer, and never lose sight of the patients we're fighting for. Our cancer treatment specialists share the same vision, experts from all over the world, working closely together to deliver truly personalized cancer care. Specialists focused on treating cancer using advanced technologies and more precise treatments than before, working as hard as we can, doing all that we can for everyone who walks through our doors. This is Cancer Treatment Centers of America, and these are the specialists we're proud to call our own. Treating cancer isn't one thing we do, it's the only thing we do. Expert medicine works here. Learn more at cancercenter.com. Cancer Treatment Centers of America. Appointments available now.
Insurance that won't replace the full value of your new car? You're better off throwing your money right into the harbor.
Okay, bye-bye.
Their species is up to us. Come, hear their stories, and share in our vision to restore and protect a healthy future for California's wildlife. The California Trail at Oakland Zoo.
Supporting the community where we live is important. We get it. Alexis Stevens Creek has teamed up with Humane Society Silicon Valley. When you donate new pet supplies valued at $10 or more, you will receive 10% off your total service bill. Available only at Alexis Stevens Creek.
One more thing before we go. Remember Don Blankenship? After serving a year in prison following an explosion in one of his mines, the coal baron decided his next step should be to run for Joe Manchin's Senate seat in West Virginia.
Actually, what was
ads
it?
like this.
Swamp Captain Mitch McConnell has
442.
millions of jobs for China people.
442.
So Mitch has gotten rich. In fact, his China family has given him tens of millions of dollars.
And this.
Politicians are
Seems
running
a little long.
crazy ads. They blew up the coal mine and then put me in prison. Now they're running ads that say the coal mine blew up and I went to prison. One of my goals as U.S. Senator will be to ditch cocaine Mitch.
I love how he pops. He just pops on television. He pops. He's got it. Blankenship lost the Republican primary back in May. He placed third behind nominee Patrick Morrissey and Congressman Evan Jenkins. But Don was not done. Earlier this year, he filed the paperwork to run as a third-party candidate in November. The state swiftly denied his...
That's gonna run.
West Virginia has a so-called loser law, which prevents failed primary candidates from running as a third party. Blankenship railed against the decision in a statement which used the word the establishment a casual 5 times. He wanted his Senate bid to rise like a phoenix from the political ashes. You know, like that tattoo that Ben Affleck has across his back. Well, Blankenship says he's going to take the issue to court, and that effort, well, is not likely to succeed. So we are left with the immortal words of Cocaine Mitch himself. Thanks for playing. That'll wrap things up for me this hour. Kristen Walker picks things up right now. Kristen, look at us for Primary Colors. Primary Colors on another very busy Friday, Katie. We never get a break.
Well, that's starting to piss me off.
We should go to publishing and have
Third one.
Yeah, they just don't exist in this business. All right, Katie. Well, have a good Friday. Have a good weekend. Good afternoon. I am Kristen Welker, in for Ali Belshi. I did not know that's what President Trump is saying after new reports that longtime lawyer and fixer Michael Cohen is willing to inform special counsel Robert Mueller that Trump knew about that now in the Trump Tower meeting before it took place. The president lashed out in a series of tweets dismissing not only the report but also Cohen. Last night, the president's attorney, Rudy Giuliani, was on the attack, slamming Cohen's credibility.
Yeah, go all the way down there.
I expected something like this from Cohen. He's been lying all week, I mean, or for 2 weeks. He's been lying for years. There's no doubt in my mind that he's just not credible.
Well, that's a pretty sizable departure from how Giuliani described Cohen back in May.
The man is an honest, honorable lawyer.
Joining me now with the very latest from the White House is my friend and colleague, NBC News' Hans Nichols. Hans, thanks for being here. So let's start off with what you and I witnessed today. We were both on the White House South Lawn. President Trump was there taking that big victory lap on the economy, the strong GDP number, but of course refused to answer questions about all of this, about Michael Cohen. And this is the 9th time reporters have been shouting questions at him. He hasn't responded. He is responding on Twitter. What's the strategy here?
Well, it seems on Twitter he is trying to question Cohen's overall integrity. It's all from Giuliani talking about he's a pathological liar. But I have to say, Kristen, to your question, why is the president mixing it up? It seems like there's a shift in communication strategy from his president. Bill Shine is starting to exert his control over the White House. He forced the deputy chief of staff and the communications director and hit that rat that earlier this honoring a certain point Bill Shine and John Pittman, the chief of staff, towards the president and gave him a thumbs up. Now, as you know, the president was almost protected by a moat there. There's some asphalt between the press and the president. He was raised, his platform was. So there wasn't a natural opportunity for the president to engage with the press. And as you well know, this president likes to mix it up with the press and get his version of the story out there, and certainly isn't afraid of interacting. Kristen?
Certainly isn't typically, Hans, and I know that you're going to be
Not that
shouting
much.
questions with him, and I will
Not that
as well,
much.
for Bedminster.
conversation, any communications between Trump Jr. and the president. So yes, right now it is a question of credibility. Both sides are trying to impugn the credibility of the other side. But if there are any records, phone or otherwise, and I think sometimes in the day-to-day mix of this, when we're sort of reporting what's publicly, we forget that Robert Mueller has subpoena power. He has the ability to look at a lot of these records, and they've got a lot of really smart forensic lawyers there that are able to go back in time and try to reconstruct days. You saw this with Mr. Comey, when Comey actually wrote those memos to himself. They're trying to put something in record, trying to leave a paper trail. We'll see in this case if anyone inadvertently left a paper trail. Chris?
I think that's the big question, Hans. Is there any type of paper trail? Is there any proof? All right, NBC's Hans Nichols at the White House. A very busy day. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Let's refresh your memory about this Trump Tower meeting, because it's been a while. About 2 years ago, in June 2016, emails show Donald Trump Jr. wrote to British publicist Rob Goldstone, "How about 3 at our offices? Thanks, Rob. Appreciate your helping set this up."
Damn,
diggity. That sentence refers to the Trump Tower meeting. Now, in that same email exchange, Don Jr. was offered quote-unquote dirt on Hillary Clinton, to which he replied, "If it is what you say, I love it." Then, just hours later, candidate Donald Trump appeared at a campaign event to tease an upcoming speech that would reveal incriminating information about the Clintons. Take a listen.
I am going to give a major speech on probably Monday of next week, and we're going to be discussing all of the things that have taken place with the Clintons. I think you're going to find it very informative and very, very interesting.
Well, 2 days later, the meeting happened. It involved Donald Trump Jr., then campaign chair Paul Manafort, and son-in-law Jared Kushner met with a Russian lawyer, a former Russian spy, and others. The public didn't find out about it until a year later, after the election. 1 year ago, July 2017, Don Jr. downplayed the significance of that meeting. In a statement to the New York Times, Don Jr. said, quote, "It was a short introductory meeting about the adoption of Russian children." He also claimed the focus of the meeting was, quote, "not a campaign issue at the time." Nearly a month later, reports prove that President Trump personally helped draft his son's misleading statement. Don Jr. then walked back.
This holds a lot better on this version.
He did, in fact,
You guys will be able to get around that corner nicely.
Information, but that the meeting ended up being about adoptions. 2 days after that, Don Jr. appeared on Fox News with Sean Hannity to explain.
A lot of people are going to want to know this about your father. Did you tell your father anything about this? It was such a nothing. There was nothing to tell. I mean, I wouldn't have even remembered it until we it was literally just a waste of 20 minutes, which was a shame.
Don Jr. echoed that in his testimony before the Senate Judiciary Committee.
Oh, you piece of shit.
Wouldn't have wasted his time with it. I never spoke to my father about it. I've got an all-star panel to break all of this very confusing information down. Joining me now is NBC News legal analyst Danny Savalos, as well as Liz Holtzman, counsel with Herrick Feinstein, LLP, and a former congresswoman who voted to impeach President Nixon during Watergate. I'm also joined by the senior political reporter for The Fix at Washington Post, Aaron Blake. Thanks to all of you for being here on a busy Friday. Danny, I want to start with you. Just put this into a big, broad context for us. How big of a deal is this?
If Don Jr. lied to Congress,
damn it, damn it, damn it.
6 different obstruction statutes that apply to congressional activities. The most obvious would be 1505, but as long as he intended to mislead or omit factual information, he can be charged with a crime, and this is very important, whether or not he was under oath. If he's under oath, it's perjury. If he's not under oath, it still might be Section 1001. And if there was a statute of the year in the Federal Criminal Code, it would be Section 1001. False statements to authorities, including Congress, but not necessarily Congress. We've already seen others indicted, pleading guilty to the exact same crime. A number of high-profile people in the past have been charged with this crime. It is a very easy crime to make out, does not require an oath. It essentially requires just a knowing, intentional, misleading, lying to an agent or Congress or obstructing some proceeding.
Danny, I take your point, but as I was talking about with Hans Nichols, this is really a he said. As far as we know right now, we haven't seen all of the evidence. And Rudy Giuliani, the attorney for President Trump, in phone conversations with myself, with my colleagues, and on air last night, said Cohen's a proven liar. Take a look.
Are you concerned at all that Michael
expect that he is going to
see the difference.
be happy with it because he doesn't have any.
I don't know. To me, it seems like you're a lot more blocked out on our current version.
Honest, honorable lawyer.
Maybe it's just me not playing it very often.
And again, the fact that so far this is he said, he said.
It's really interesting because in the past, when they've been caught making false denials, they've generally tried to kind of weasel their way out of it a little bit, try to explain what their initial denials, how they weren't exactly incorrect. In this case, they're actually doubling down. They're saying it didn't happen. He's a liar. The president tweeted it out for everybody to see, said this didn't happen. It is to some degree that he said, but remember this about the situation. According to the reports, Michael Cohen says other people were in this meeting, knew about what was happening here. There should be people who can corroborate either his version of events or the president's. And so even if there's not documentation, there should be some evidence that they can play with there and figure out whether Don Jr. and Don are being, the president are being honest, or whether Michael Cohen's being honest.
Let's pick up on that point for us. Could evidence present itself in the form then something tangible like an email? In other words, if more people step forward and say, hey, I heard the same thing, I believe President Trump did know about this beforehand, what's the significance of that? What's the bar and the potential consequences?
Well, if you have corroboration for Michael Cohen, and what's been reported is what he actually believes and says, and he tells that under oath. Danny said, I mean, this is could be create prosecutorial liability for Donald Trump Jr. But let's go back historically. This is a kind of John Dean, Richard Nixon moment. John Dean said, I told the president there was a cover-up going on and there was a pressure on the presidency and people were being offered hush money. And he testified before the Senate Watergate Committee. And Richard Nixon immediately said, liar. Might have said pathological liar, but he said liar, liar, liar. John Dean is not telling the truth. Ultimately, the tapes came out, and John Dean was proven to be right, and Richard Nixon was lying. So Donald Trump Jr. is in trouble here, and Donald Trump Sr.
65 minus 6,
if Michael Cohen is telling the truth, and there's any corroborating evidence.
Liz, let me press you on that because, of course, officials with President Trump, those in his camp are going to say, hey, wait a minute, that moment you just talked about was possibly the pivotal moment of
it was more like 67.
One of the biggest. Do you really say it, and what it makes you think this could be that pivotal?
It could be, because what we have is a meeting. We know that that this was a meeting that represented the Russian government's support for Donald Trump's election as president. Secondly, we know that the campaign was meeting to get dirt on Hillary Clinton to further Donald Trump's election as president. So, if Donald Trump knew about it beforehand, and presumably allowed to go forward, then we have a kind of collusion, conspiracy between him and his campaign and the Russian government that could involve a lot of other charges aside from obstruction of justice and so forth. So we have we're in serious territory, and it just does remind me of Nixon and Dean. Yes, there's going to be a denial. You could have predicted that. But the question is what kind of corroboration there's going to be.
And Aaron, shift to you and what you wrote today in the Washington Post. You sort of go through a number of inconsistencies that we've seen from this president, not only on the Russia matter, but a whole range of issues. You talk about the fact that President Trump didn't know about the Trump Tower meeting. That's, of course, one. Wasn't involved in the response.
I'm running out of time.
That the Trump team didn't talk to Russians. We all remember that. He said that during the press conference. Of course, we now know that's not the case. That's why he fired his national security advisor. Didn't know about the National Enquirer payout to Karen McDougal before it happened. Didn't stay overnight in Moscow in 2013. We know that happened. Didn't know about the Stormy Daniels payment. To what extent is the bigger picture, everything that you mapped out today, going to be relevant here to Robert Mueller?
I think it's supposed to
oh no!
When you're an investigator,
oh yes!
Each individual charge that you might come forward with.
I don't know what that swing was.
Just because somebody may have lied or may have misrepresented something else, they're definitely misrepresenting this. But it does lead you down that path. It's much more difficult to take this denial.
It was like that one.
Given all these other situations, including the one about this Trump Tower meeting, the explanation for it, in which the president was involved after they denied that he was. If they were misleading about those things, it's hard to have faith in them that they were actually being honest in this case. That said, they're standing by it, and so
see if they actually are able to disprove that.
And investigators are going to be interviewing Weisselberg, which is, of course, significant potentially, Trump.org, also someone who knows where the bodies are buried. How significant is that?
This is kind of got lost because of the Cohen news last night a little bit, but
oh no,
there is a sense that Michael Cohen is a person who knows where the bodies are buried in the Trump world. He's been around Trump since 2006, basically. That's
all right, slow it down a little bit, damn it.
He worked with the president, but he also didn't really have necessarily that close of a relationship. It was a very weird kind of relationship. Alan Weisselberg has been with the Trumps since when Fred Trump was around, the Trump organization, since back in the 1970s. This is a guy who handled not only the Trump organization's official business, but also the president's personal business, his tax returns, his foundation. This guy was involved in so many things, has been tied to both the McDougal case and the Stormy Daniels case. It seems to be a guy who gets involved in everything that's going on. Whether those things were illegal or not, we don't know, but we do know that he has been tied to them.
Just moments ago, this remarkable picture surfaced, sort of showing how unique this situation is, this moment is. It's hard to see, but there you can see in that teal shirt Donald Trump Jr. in the background, and then in the foreground is Robert Mueller. This was taken at DCA, Reagan National Airport, earlier today. It just surfaced in Politico. Danny, we have a statement from the special counsel's office which says that is him waiting to board a flight. If it's accurate that the other person in the photo was Donald Trump Jr., Mr. Mueller was not aware of him and had no interaction with him. Danny, you can't make it up.
No, you can't. And I have to imagine that if Robert Mueller had known he was that close,
that was bad.
Given how much he's a by-the-book prosecutor, he would have stood up, found somewhere else to sit down and read his magazine, which I'm sure is a magazine entitled Federal Prosecutor Weekly or something like that. It seems like he's all business. Plus, I'd like to say this picture really fleshes out in Robert Mueller how I'd like to dress at the airport, and in Donald Trump Jr. how I actually end up dressing at the airport.
Well, it is remarkable. It's getting a lot of traction and just goes to show you, I think, how remarkable, unprecedented this moment really is. All right, Danny Savalos, Liz Holtzman, Aaron Blake, thanks to all of you. Really appreciate your helping us break down this very complicated development.
That was much better than I thought.
Coming up,
I thought I was like way short.
About the Trump administration's strategy to protect future elections from getting hacked, as the president holds his very first meeting today with the National Security Council. Are they doing enough? That's the key question. And on the topic of election security, Senator Claire McCaskill says Russian hackers were unsuccessful in their attempt to hack computers in her office. The man who helped solve the DNC hack will join me straight ahead to give us insight. Stay with us.
Nah.
Your dad
not the time for the rollback.
50 cents at Office Depot Office Max.
Hey, nice job clearing the clock.
Thanks.
Do you know anybody who could repair the water damage in my basement?
Roto-Rooter does that.
Do you guys fix water heaters?
Roto-Rooter does that.
How about a leaky faucet?
We do that.
Disposal repair?
We do that.
I've got to run a few errands, but if you could finish up those pipes, that'd be great. Thanks.
Oh yeah, this is gonna be a great way to go down.
Newest way to create a style all your own. The HSN Style Edit, a curated look at the season's best, most original vibes for every part of your life.
That's just great.
Trends, share tips and how-tos, and give you the inspiration you need to style it your way. It's the joy of the hunt and the thrill of the find. Your
That's way too much.
Here,
Oh, lucky.
exclusively at hsn.com.
So lucky. Take that booty. Damn it.
Exclusive video.
Intelligence officials tell me.
NBC News gets an exclusive look inside here at the nation's capital. There's now an open investigation. Mr. New reporting today on
This is the deadliest school shooting. The Supreme Court upheld the revised version. This new report comes amid a staggering amount of news.
Breaking news tonight exclusively here.
NBC News was first out with this scoop
It's been
today.
an extraordinary night watching this. So,
Shit.
The Trump administration has no central strategy to protect the upcoming elections from attacks. That's according to senior officials. That's the sobering headline as the president holds his very first Security Council meeting on this very topic. And it's happening right now. Intel chiefs have warned that Russia will try to target the midterms in November, and the attacks may have already begun. The Daily Beast reports Russian hackers targeted Democratic Senator Claire McCaskill as early as last summer, just and her re-election bid. The report also says there's no evidence to suggest the attack was successful. NBC's intelligence and national security reporter Ken Delanian joins me now, and you wrote the story about the administration's lack of central strategy to protect the upcoming elections. So, Ken, put it into context for us. They're sitting down now. The midterms are 100 days away. Is there enough time for them to get caught up and to play a little bit of devil's advocate? They say, hey, we are taking some steps.
They are, Kristen. What's really remarkable is that Trump's own cabinet has been saying in public that there needs to be a central coordinated strategy, and the unspoken thing is there isn't one. I mean, Kirstjen Nielsen, the Department of Homeland Security chief, told our own Peter Alexander after she explained what DHS was doing working with states, look, this is really not just a DHS problem. We need the whole government engaged. You know, the FBI is doing things, but there is no presidential leadership, Kristen. And Dan Coates, gave a remarkable speech in which he said, look, the Russians are continuing to interfere in our politics. They are on social media, they're on Twitter and Facebook.